Moonshot AI just dropped Kimi K2.6, the new open source king. It's beating GPT-5.4 and Claude Opus 4.6 on a bunch of coding benchmarks, and you can run it yourself. And OpenAI dropped a new Codex feature called Chronicle. It watches your screen, builds memories from what you're working on, so you don't have to keep re-explaining context every time. Let me show you both. So Moonshot AI just dropped a new model today called Kimi K2.6, which is an open source coding model. And on paper, this thing actually beats GPT 5.4, Claude Opus 4.6, and Gemini 3.1 Pro on a bunch of benchmarks. It's actually fully open source, so you can run it yourself, and I've been testing it as well, so I'm going to show you guys some demos. But before I do that, let me show you guys what's actually new. So K2.6 is actually built for long horizon coding tasks, and that's the big headline that they're banking on. And one of the examples they actually gave in the blog, which was kind of interesting to me, was that they gave K2.6 a job, which was to download Qwen 3.5, deploy it on a Mac, and optimize the inference code in Zig, a language almost nobody writes in nowadays. And it ran for over 12 hours, made 4,002 calls, and it actually iterated itself 14 times and ended up 20% faster than LM Studio. So you can clearly see that long horizon coding is something that Kimi K2.6 really excels in. On Software Engineering Bench Pro, K2.6 hits 58.6%, which is higher than GPT 5.4, Claude Opus 4.6, and Gemini 3.1 Pro. On Humanity's last exam with tools, it scores 54%, which is also the highest. On BrowserComp with Agent Swarm enabled, it hits 86.3%, and for context, Moonshot's own Agent Swarm now runs about 300 sub-agents across 4,000 coordinated steps at once. K2.5, their older model, maxed out at 100 agents and 1,500 steps, so it's a big jump for them as well. And remember, this is the open source model doing all of this. For the first time in a couple of weeks, we finally have a new open source model going head to head with the top closed labs on coding, agentic tasks, and long running workflows. And it's not like it's just behind them. Like, obviously there are new models from Opus 4.7 and the upcoming GPT 5.5 Pro model. But obviously, if you have an open source model that's doing on par to their best models at the moment, it's not bad at all. But now let me show you guys what it actually does. Before we continue, we just launched the Universe of AI newsletter. If you want to stay on top of AI news without having to hunt for it, link is in the description. Don't miss out. So one of the biggest leap that the new model has is on front-end capabilities, generating professional websites using, images, using videos and everything like that. So the prompt for this page was to create a cinematic landing page, and every single image or visualization that you're seeing on screen is something that it generated itself. And you can see that because you can see over here, image generation is going to generate assets before it does the whole hero section and everything. So let's just take a look at the whole website. So I love the landing page. This is kind of cool, like the honey dropping or whatever it is. And then we have all the scents, and then we can see professional looking web products, like the images are professional. It fits the vibe of a cinematic page and everything. And then we can select a fragrance. Can we actually click on these and it takes us somewhere? Okay, we can. So let me click on this one. Select a fragrance, mysterious. That's pretty cool. And then if I do this, sensual, okay, chill out. And then we have dreamlike, loon. And then if we go here, those are all of those, perfumes, cologne, so whatever it is, $165. Not bad for a cologne, but still crazy to me. And then we have skincare over here. So this is not bad at all. Like front-end capabilities, I can clearly see there has been an improvement. Doesn't look like AI slop, doesn't look like something that's horrible, and I liked how it generated all those assets. So if you're just vibe coding sometimes, you might not have some images or assets, but having access to this will definitely make your life much easier. And here's another example. Like, this is really nice, like a wild cinematic, coastal views, things like that. And just to show you guys, when Kimi is working, you can see everything that it's done. It's kind of like a computer. So if I click on this, it can show you the image generation it did. So you can see this was the image it generated, and then these were some other ones. So it uses all these assets in the overall picture at the end, the website. So this is pretty sick too. All right, what I'm going to show you guys is me trying to create a Minecraft clone. But unfortunately, I ran out of my limits, and it's going to reset in 5 hours. So if you want to see this fully finished, I'm going to share it on X, but I'll show you guys what it looks like right now. So I just said create a voxel style Minecraft style clone that is fully playable and deployable in HTML. Ensure it matches the design of the actual game and it has similar functionality. Now, full transparency, what you're looking at is not fully complete. It was still going through and fixing it, but the rate limit's hit. But let me show you guys what it has done so far, because it's not bad just to see overall how capable it is. Right now, it built me like a Windows, I guess, like a simulator type of vibe, which is not bad. Like I can go in Pixelverse here, which is the game, and then I can move this around. So this is pretty good. Like, and then I can go into the game, and then you can see this is the world we're loading in. As I said, it's not fully complete. It's a little bit glitchy, but you can see I'm breaking stuff. You guys probably can't hear the sound, but there's sound and everything. And then I can start placing stuff over here. All that. And then what is cool is that I can save the world, and I can change the game mode to creative survival, show debug info, generate a new world, save and quit. So I'll do save and quit. There's also a voxel builder over here. So I can make stuff over here. This is kind of cool. I didn't really ask it to make this, but I appreciate it. And then I can change the color, build on top of that. So this is cool. I can paint, erase stuff. So this is not bad at all. And then I can close this. There's an AI assistant that it built me. So I can say, hey, how's it going? How to play the game. Okay, so I can only answer questions regarding the game itself. So that's not bad at all. This is kind of cool. So I appreciate that feature too. And then there's a settings feature, which is dedicated for the game as well, like creative, survival, debug info, everything like that. Mouse sensitivity. I can change the mouse sensitivity, guys, which is crazy to me. The world, I can load a new world, everything. So this is really cool. Obviously, as I said, this is not fully complete. If you want to see this fully completed, I'll probably post a follow-up on X. So make sure you guys are following me on there as well. We have a new update from OpenAI today with something called Chronicle. Now, what Chronicle does is helps you build codex memories from recent screen context. Now, whenever you're working with AI, one of the biggest bottlenecks is context. You have to give your AI model some information about what you want it to do, what you're looking at, also the specific tasks required, what skills you need, and all of that builds in through context or information you give to your AI model. Now, what Chronicle does is that it helps your AI build memories faster by using your on-screen content. And the way it does that is pretty simple. All it does is take screenshots in the background. They have AI agents running in the background, taking screenshots and building memories. So when you work with this, when you're working with Codex with Chronicle enabled, all your information is already processed in the background. So when you ask it questions, it takes less time understanding what you want it to do. Also doesn't ask a follow-up question for more context. It already knows. Sam Altman actually called this feature telepathy in their internal memo, but I guess they decided when they released this feature, they were going to name it Chronicle. So how does it actually work? So let me show you guys a couple of examples. So when you have Chronicle enabled, if you were to ask it a simple question is like, why is this failing? Why is this project failing? What it does, it uses the Chronicle skill, and it can read that what you're looking at on screen is that you have GitHub open and it's showing a failed GitHub action. So because of that simple screen capture that it has done, it knows that, okay, this error is in the chronicle.mdx. Aster is treating settings, personalization as a block code, blah, 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 and it understands what the error is. Without it, you would have to obviously give it more context. Codex is going to reply back to you saying, I do not know what this refers to yet, and is going to ask you to send the failing command, error text, or screenshot. Another example is that it helps you fill in missing context. You don't have to fill in more information. If you just say something like sync the latest doc draft changes and message Romain when you are done, it's going to use the Chronicle skill and then says that, okay, based on my memory, this refers to the Google Doc Chronicles docs draft, and Romain is this guy on Slack. I'll sync in the doc and send him the message. Without it, you would have to obviously explain. So you can see how this is going to be useful for developers that are working with Codex on a frequent basis and don't want to spend a lot of time explaining everything from scratch every single time and want their AI to hold a better sense of memory. So Chronicle is that missing piece. All it does is a simple fix, which is just take screenshots of your screen in the background, but there are some downsides, and the downsides are rate limits. Chronicle is obviously working in the background and is going to generate memories from the captured screen images. And because it's doing that, it will consume your rate limits quickly. So they clearly mentioned that, so make sure you guys keep that in mind. Now, there are some risks with privacy and security. Obviously, if you have something open that is private, maybe it could be personal information, anything like that, you don't want obviously the AI to capture that. But if you have it enabled, it might capture that. And there are some risk of prompt injection. Let's say you have your screen open and it's on something that has, malicious intent on it or anything like that. The AI agent might capture that and take it as an instruction and use that against you. So make sure when you're using this, you're using it, number one, in a safe manner and you're protecting your privacy information. So to enable Chronicle, all you have to do is to go to the settings, and you are using the Codex app, and it's obviously only available for the Mac app at the moment and is only available for Pro subscribers. It's not available in Europe yet, or UK or Switzerland, but all you have to do is confirm that the Codex has screen recording and accessibility permissions on the Mac app. You might have to quit and reopen the Codex app and then go to your settings and personalization and just make sure the Chronicle status is active. That's pretty much it. But that's it for today's video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, follow our new newsletter as well at universeofai.beehive.com, as well as subscribe to the main channel World of AI, and support us on X by following the Universe of AIZ as well. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.